Hello everyone, I'm Deacon Rob Strouse, and Hallie Card has asked me to share with you a little bit about my faith journey that I've experienced in my life. So I grew up in DeWitt, and my family did not go to church. My father had been baptized, but he did not attend church, and none of us. So all through my years of growing up, I never went to church and didn't really think much about God. My experience of God was as a teenager. I loved nature and spent a lot of time outdoors. So without really realizing it, my God was God the Creator. And but again, I really didn't focus on any type of faith or religion. And then in my high school years, I met my wife, Sue, and who's now my wife of almost 41 years. And she was a cradle Catholic, and she kind of introduced me to the faith in just the sense that I could see God working through her. Again, at this time, I didn't think much about religion, so it wasn't in the sense of, oh, I see Jesus in my wife, but I saw all of the kindness and gentleness, the way she was serving of others, and I found that very attractive, and that's so initially what attracted her to me. One of our first dates was at St. Therese at a high school dance. So that was probably one of the first times I actually had been at a church property. And we did a midnight mass one time. So again, that was my first experience with the church at all. And it, again, at that point, didn't really have a serious impact on me. Well, we got married in 1979, and in 1983, we had our first child, Anthony. And shortly after that, my wife Sue had come to me and posed this question to me saying, well, what are you going to tell our child when he says, how come Dad's not coming to church with us, Mom? Because Sue was going to St. John Student Parish at that time. And so I felt a little cornered and didn't really have a good response to that question. So I said, well, okay, I'll go to church with you, but there's no way I'm going to become Catholic. Because again, that just really wasn't on my radar at that point in time in my life. But within a year, I found myself in the RCIA at St. John Student Parish. And that was my first encounter with Christ. I had the pleasure of having a great staff that was teaching me, including Father Jake Foglio, and really kind of helped change my attitude a little bit about the church and about what a priest was. Because again, at my point in my life, a priest was just a figurehead, somebody kind of holier than thou. And again, I just kind of had that attitude. So, and just to jump back briefly, on our honeymoon, back in 1979, Sue and I went down to Grand Cayman for our honeymoon, and so we were on the beach that first day. It was a Saturday, and we're just, it's 90 degrees. We're out in the sun on this white sand beach, just the ocean, it's, all this wonderful time. And my wife says to me, "Oh, it's almost 5 o'clock. We've got to go to Mass." And I'm like, Mass? Why? We're on our honeymoon. We're here on the beach. Why in the world would we want to go to Mass? And so that was kind of our first real disagreement about church, because she ended up going to Mass. And I ended up laying out on the beach enjoying the sunshine and, just not having an understanding, a grasp of why it was so important for us to go to Mass. But again, fast forwarding, was in the RCIA, and on April 7th, 1985, I joined the Catholic faith, which also happened to be my wife's 25th birthday. And from there, we continued to, I continued to go to church. So we went to church as a family. And again, it had a lot more significance in my life because I had encountered Christ when I was going through the RCIA. But it still didn't have a tremendous impact as far as my faith, my growth in faith on the journey. So I was taking little baby steps along the way, and actually, my wife and my children continued to support me in that, as my son Anthony showed signs of wanting to become a priest, having a vocation to the priesthood. And we had two other children, two daughters. And, again, we continued to go to church, continued to grow in faith. And then in 1991, my wife Sue and I went on a marriage encounter weekend down in Jackson. And on that marriage encounter weekend, again, I had a significant encounter with Christ again in my life. And just basically letting me know that he was there and he wanted to play a more important role in my life than I had opened up to him at that point in time. So we went on a marriage encounter weekend. We had an incredible, life-changing experience with asking God and Jesus to become a part of our marriage, to become a part of us, to become an important aspect of our life beyond what had already happened. And so we became members of the marriage encounter community, and we took on the vocation of helping married couples to continue to grow in a stronger marriage life together. And we did this for 15 years. We went all over the country presenting. And all this time we continued to grow in our prayer life together, in our prayer life with others, seeing God work in the lives of married couples and bringing them closer together. So again, my journey has been one of a lot of slow, steady steps toward God on his journey of life and toward eternal life. And so at that point, Sue went on to get her doctorate degree, and so we had to step aside from the marriage encounter weekend. But in the year 2012, Father Dwight Aesop, and I was working at the Catholic community of St. Jude. I'm going to back up a little bit here, but in 2005, I had been praying about possibly retiring from my job of nearly 30 years, wanting to join and somehow give back to the church. And so I wanted to work for the church. And in 2005, God provided an opportunity. My wife was the president of the board of Lansing Catholic, and she wanted to bring St. Jude Parish, and we knew Father Dwight from when we had experienced supporting the seminarians in our marriage encounter vocation. And so he hired me, and in late 2005, I began my journey here at the Catholic community of St. Jude, January 2nd of 2006, and as the operations manager here. And so continue to grow in faith here, experiencing the life within the parish, both here and at St. Mary in Williamston, where we were still parishioners. We had still lived in Williamston. And then in 2012, Father Dwight Aesop asked me to consider becoming a deacon. Him and my wife got together and kind of cornered me at a meal, at a dinner. And of course, my first reaction was, seriously? I mean, look where I've been. Why would I, how could I become a deacon? That's a leadership position role in the church. It's a clergy. I am not certainly worthy of that. But one thing that I learned in my journey in Marriage Encounter, and that was to be open to God's will. And even though maybe you don't believe that you are worthy, excuse me a little bit here, but that you're worthy enough, God fills in all the cracks. And though you may feel broken and unworthy, if you open yourself to Him, He will take you and He will lead you to where you may not think you could even go. So, in May 18th of 2019, I was ordained a deacon of the Catholic Church and serving here at the Catholic community of St. Jude. And that's where I am today. And it's been a real blessing. For the last year and a half, I'm still a baby deacon, but I've learned a lot, and I continue to open myself up to opportunities that God provides for me, and to be able to serve God's people, both here at the parish and in the greater community, is a joy for me, and I continue to look forward to the continuation of my faith journey until I'm born again into eternal life. And I hope I continue to grow and serve, and hopefully this little story is that I can share with you helps you on your journey. And I thank you very much for listening.